Hey everyone, this is Othias from C&Rsenal. I just wanted to throw together this quick companion video to cover a couple little details that might be hard to see in the earlier animation. Just the 2D nature of that display kind of hides just a couple features. While I'm at it, since I have to take the Nambu apart anyway to show you, I might as well do a field trip. So if you're here for that, that's happening too. Now this is the Imperial Japanese pistol, chambered in 8mm Nambu. It's often been confused with the later Type 94, which had the exposed trigger bar / sear. This one does not. This is not one that's going to accidentally fire when you holster, unholster, or poke it. The trigger bar on this is actually shrouded up in here. You can see the bottom of it, but you can't really get at it very easily. Why the Japanese chose to take a perfectly good locking action pistol and chamber it in what is roughly 380 equivalent, I don't know. And that's a whole other topic. But for today, let's just do a quick field strip and talk about some features of this gun. First, let's go ahead and make sure we're safe. We already did this off camera, but why not do it on? And it's sort of step one anyway. We're going to check that chamber, check our mag. There's no cartridges in here. If you have 8mm Nambu laying around and forgetting about it, hook me up. Unlike other pistols, we're going to leave that magazine in for a second because we want to get out the oh-so-fragile firing pin. So I'm going to depress this button on the rear and give her spins, lots of spins, some more spinning. And I'm going to keep pressure on there because it's under spring tension. And so that comes out. We've got our firing pin back in here. I'm going to let her out easy, and you can see why that thing's so fragile. Never dry fire a Nambu. It's just not a good idea. If you have a Nambu and you'd like to store it safely, just a quick thing that you can do is you can actually go ahead and skip to this next step that we're about to do, which is to rethread this cocking piece. And this is for disassembly, so follow along, everybody. And we're going to drop this mag. It's going to slam our bolt forward. Don't be scared. Okay? And then from there, we can spin this guy back off. If we continue with the disassembly, that's fine, we're going to do something else. If you just want to keep your firing pin safe though, since there is no decock on this gun, at this point, you can put your firing pin back in, you can put your mag back in, and that lets you pull the trigger, and it's going to drop that guy in, it's going to decock it. Now you can reassemble the rest of that bolt, and you have a decocked Nambu sitting on your shelf. Now I know standard safety procedure means nobody should be going around pulling trigger on your guns anyway, but just in case, if you want to keep it decocked, that's the way. But that's not where we're going right now, so I'm going to go ahead and let that guy back out, and drop this magazine. Alright, to get the rest of the gun apart, we are going to need to simultaneously push this action back and depress this mag release. It's a bit of a feat on camera, so back, button, and slide. Okay, now that's going to free up this trigger guard assembly. It's going to free up this barrel assembly and lock. I'm going to tip these out like this because what I'm doing is I'm cradling the most losable part in the Nambu, which is that locking bar spring. I've actually taken apart probably about 5 Nambus and only 2 of them had this spring still. It seems like it gets lost real easy. So we can tap that guy out, make sure he doesn't wander away. It's kind of important. Alright, let's cover a couple things from the animation. One, first and foremost, if you didn't notice, this is how it locks. That's locked. When she's open, unlocked. All right, and then second, I want you to see these recoil springs. We've got 2 of them, one on either side. They're right down the middle. They're also right down the middle rather, is the firing pin spring. So that's that spring that drives the firing pin. It's also right down the middle, just slightly smaller. So when you see the animation, you're going to have overlaid springs. Now I've adjusted so that neither one of them is the same opacity at any one time during the animation, so you're going to see them change out. One's going to be more visible or the other. Trying to be too confused, just figure out which spring you're on. I'm sorry, I just didn't know a better way to do that in a 2D animation, and I haven't graduated to 3D animation just yet. I'd need a lot better pay for that. But that's problem number 1 solved. Problem number 2 has to do with our sear. And so, I'll grab these 2 parts. On our trigger, I'm trying to keep my big hands out of the way. On our trigger, when we pull that sear rises, and that's in the animation, it's very clear. But what's not so clear, because it's coming at your face, is this little extension right here. That little guy, when we turn it this way, is poking straight up at you. And so it doesn't translate well in 2D. There's a matching one pointed straight away from you when you're watching it. All right, there, can you guys see it? I'll rotate a bit. It's right over here. And that's the trigger bar. So that's that bit that's being lifted down the length of the pistol. Those two extensions meet, and that's why you're in the animation. You're able to see the sear slip off the back and come around. It explains a lot of that motion that doesn't look too sensible in 2D because the bulk of those components are not in contact with each other. It's just those two little tabs that are actually making contact with each other. So try to bear that in mind while you're watching the animation. It'll hopefully explain it a little bit better. But that's really it. That's all I needed to cover. Reassembly of the gun is just the reverse. There's nothing too complicated about it except when you get to it, when you go to just do everything I did in reverse. If you need help, there's an article on C&Rsenal. But when you go back to reset this guy, this sort of teardrop shape, and it's hard to make out on the camera, it fits into a teardrop shape here, and that's why we have to depress that. But when you reassemble on, especially the early models, it's long enough that it doesn't quite get into this groove where it needs to be to lock it in place, so it'll try to twist and snag and do all sorts of kooky stuff. So if you have a Q-tip or something pokey that you can get her poked way down in there and hold her down in there while you're screwing on, it'll go a lot faster and you have less likelihood of snags. Other than that, no special treatment for reassembly. Try not to launch stuff, but that's about it. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks a lot for all of you to help on that Indiegogo poster project. I'm probably dating myself if anybody's watching this a year later, but that's okay. I'm really appreciative of it, and I hope to do a lot more video work in the future. All right, have a good one, guys.